Hi, everybody. I'm back again. And yeah, of course, I have one cat that just does not like me streaming at all. It's mostly me talking. As soon as I talk, she runs away. Don't know why. Just a thing. Anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in again, and I'm back with two more chapters from the story. If this is your first time tuning in, you'll want to go back to past broadcasts or the past streams that have been happening throughout the week, and you can go back to the beginning of the story. Or if you've already listened to everything, you can go back to past broadcasts and listen to other stories I've read. So, this story is called "The Deputies." Well, it's not necessarily that. I've had to extrapolate with the. I've had to kind of guess what the name of the story is because the first chapter is MIA. And so I'm pretty sure it's called The Deputy's Gifts. It's very close to that. It involves the deputy. That I do know. Yeah. So I'm reading two chapters a night, mostly because they're very, very, very short chapters. So, and my goal is to like talk about them a little bit maybe afterwards, but I haven't really had much to say. I can do a quick recap, but even then, it's so short. Um, I'm probably going to be having to do some writing on it in order to like increase the word count on here. Either that or else it's just going to be a quick novella, which is kind of sad because I'm positive it was like a bigger story than this. Like, I think I remember there being like more chapters to this, but that's they are lost to time, as is chapter one. But chapter one was lost for a good reason because if you listen to them from the beginning that I have, um, you'd be very hard pressed to like go, okay, well, why was it? What happened in the first chapter? There might have been a little more of an introduction to Ethan, the main character, but other than that, really, I don't think you needed the first chapter. Which is it's funny because that's like an old editing saying is that you don't need the first chapter. Well, oftentimes you can live without the first chapter of a book. It's just this preamble blah. I think in this case it was true. So without further ado, I'm just going to launch into the next chapters, starting with chapter 6. Ethan stepped out into the street and called the boy to a halt. I am the king's deputy. Who are you? And where are these bandits? I be Hoel, son of Hoel, and the farm be about 2 hours ride out of town. How many were there? As they spoke, Ethan was walking to the stable where his horse waited. Brienne. There be 4 of them, from the sound of it. They came creeping up in the dawn, but our dog sets to barking. Da and me, we wakes up and looks out. When he sees them a comin', he bundles me out the back window, telling me to get the pony and ride for help. So here I be. As you can tell, there's a regional dialect in there. And I've had to change out some of the words because, yep. Did I mention I'm also editing while I'm doing this? Because that's what I do on here. Did the bandits see you go? I don't think so. We were bending low over the pony for I were bending over the pony for fear of arrows, but I didn't hear a one. I did hear the sound of axes against the door, though. Ethan nodded. Wait here in town until I come back. I'll go to see if I can find them, or at least track them. I fear, though, that it may be too late for your father. Howell nodded, tears showing in his eyes. I fear so, Deputy. Perhaps it will be well that Ma'am died already last winter. At least they can't be hurting her. Ethan rode Priyan at the best speed he could make, trotting, running, walking, then trotting again. He wished to get there quickly, but reasoned that it would do no good to arrive on a blown mount. Very shortly he saw a plume of smoke against the morning sky, and knew by that he was already too late. And so it proved, for as he mounted the last rise, he looked down on the desolation of the burned-out farm. It's not only the Camartha who know how to wreak destruction, Ethan muttered. The farmer had apparently died fighting on his doorstep, and so had been spared the knowledge of what had followed. The bandits had left clear tracks, and the deputies followed them. They made no attempt to hide their trail, and Ethan followed rapidly. Shortly the tracks were moving into rougher country. Still, with no further effort to hide them, Ethan followed, through brush, fallen trees, boulders, and at last to an old stream bed where the bank overhung the trail. It's almost as if they wanted me to follow, he muttered to himself. Such a clear trail leading here at last. Such a perfect ambush. There and then, he realized what had happened. He dropped his hand to his sword hilt, looking up at the brush along the bank. Two men stood up suddenly, poised to cast javelins. Almost unbidden, his thought went to the stone of escaping, still in his saddlebag. It could bring him out of danger. It was as though he had blinked. First, a thick darkness in the midst, which he seemed to hear a pulsating hum, then light, blindingly brilliant in its suddenness. He blinked a few times before he was able to look at his new surroundings. It was no country that he knew, but he remembered Gale's warning that the stone would bring him to the hills. He was in a small valley between two hills facing east, where another blocked his view. He turned around and saw that his view was blocked by another hill, about half a mile distant. He turned Priyan about. Come, loyal one. Best we get ourselves out of here. Before the folk of the hills notice us. As he rode along, he reflected on what had happened. It was beyond questioning that his thought of the stone had saved him from almost certain death. He grimaced. The brave king's deputy on the tail of bandits flees when he catches them. A moment later he grinned. But think what those fellows must be feeling. All ready to throw their javelins and the target disappears in front of them. Yeah, this is how you know that it's really rough. Hold on, guys. I take a sip of coffee at every scene break. And here we go. He was riding to the west as quickly as he could without unduly tiring Priyan when he heard laughter. His hand went to his sword as he pulled Priyan to a stop. That's the end of the chapter. Don't worry, I have another. A man popped up from the brush before Ethan. A little man with a wide, freckled face, wearing green hose and shirt, with a red vest and a yellow peaked hat sporting a long feather. He would stand no higher than Ethan's waist, and his clothing was so bright that Ethan could scarce believe that he'd hidden in that bush. The little man looked Ethan up and down, grinning. He rides mightily out of the hills as though all the goblins were on his trail. Is this fear, or has he stolen something? And now he stops, his hand to his sword, as though thinking to fight some dread thing of the night. Who are you, man, and why do you flee? I am Ethanbrand's son, and I ride swiftly so as to be quickly out of this land, since I know that those who dwell here do not welcome visitors. The little man chuckled. Nor do we, man, nor do we. But it seems I must ask another question. Since you know that we do not welcome visitors, how did you come to be in the hills at all? I was brought here. There was no way of knowing whether Gael and her folk were friends or foes of this little one, and therefore he wished to say as little as he could. Brought here he was. Brought here. Do you hear that? The little one looked as though to ensure that the trees and the bushes bore witness to Ethan's statement. But what brought you here, man? Tales of the gold hidden in these hills? Desire for magic that your tales say a bold man may possess himself of? What brought you here, man? I was escaping from my enemies. The little man nodded. Yes, that would be it. Certainly you stink of magic, you do. So lordly ones have been playing their little tricks again, have they? At least it is what we are, and it is what we are called tricksy ones. Ethan was still watching him warily. He had no idea what power the little one might have, and had no wish to antagonize him. The little one, though, seemed to be very changeable of mood, for where he had seemed affable at first, his laughter now held a hint of menace. Suddenly, from over the hills came the sound of singing, a clear song, but in a language Ethan did not know. The little one heard it as well, and disgust came over his features. Now, they come. Yes, they come when all is near taken care of. Do you know your good fortune, Ethanbraugh's son? Ethan merely went on looking at him. Oh, yes, you did not expect to have a magic which would bring you here, but not to tell them you were, but not tell them you were to come? Yes, they know, and now they have come to see you. He continued to look sullenly at Ethan as the singing came nearer. Over the crest of the hill came Gael, seated on a white horse. The mane of the horse was braided into a number of braids. The mane of the horse was braided into a number of braids, and at the end of each braid hung a small silver bell. As the horse went, the bells jingled, seeming to jingle in time to the song she was singing. She approached. Ethanbraugh's son, you have come again. I expect it was in a time of great need? The deputy shrugged. A time of great stupidity, at least. Just as I realized I had ridden myself into an ambush, they stood up in the brush to cast spears at me. I remembered what you said about the stone, and it brought me here. I was riding on my way home when I came across this little one. Gael glanced at the little man. You did indeed. And what were you talking of? This and that, how I came to be here, what my relations were with your people, and such things. Ah, she turned to the little man. Well, let's chorp, let, luch, look, look, chopran, luch chopran. I will see to this from now on. There was a quick flash of something on the little man's face, and then it was gone, and he was smiling. But of course you will. Did I not say it? The man has protection of your folk, and is good enough for all. Good day, lady. Good day to you as well, Athenbra's son. He turned and stepped into the brush and was suddenly gone, as suddenly as he had come. Gale looked at Athen. You know the danger you were in with the look chopran? Look look chopran? I'm pretty sure look. I'm pretty sure it's look. Kind of like lock, only it's look. Look chorpin. Look chorpin. Every time. I'm just gonna pronounce it look chopran. And I'm sorry to everybody who speaks Gaelic and Irish and Scottish and Welsh. I'm sorry. I'm butchering the language. I'm pretty sure it's Irish. Sorry, Irish people. There was a quick flash of something on the little man's face. Then it was gone. He was smiling. But of course you will. Did I not say it? The man has the protection of your folk, and that is good enough for all. Good day, lady, and good day to you as well, Athenbra's son. He turned and stepped into the brush and was suddenly gone. Suddenly as he had gone, Gael looked at Athen. You do know the danger that you are in with the look chorpran. Athen shrugged. Not really, though he did tell me, after we heard your song, that I should think myself fortunate. I gather it was his intent to trick me in some way? Most likely he would have led you into some bog, befuddling your eyes until it was too late. They are tricksy ones, and inclined to malice. It is their size, you see. They are bullied by other races because of being so small, and therefore they seek ways of striking back. They could never fight with iron blade or spell, so they use a little magic and a little trickery on anyone they find alone, to lead such travelers to their doom. My thanks to you, then, that you came so timely. Oh, the magic of the stone could not be used without my knowing, and it would be an ill gift that brought you out of one danger only to deposit you in another. It is possible that you may have ridden safely out of the hills, though the little ones would be aware of the magic of the stone and might come to it simply for curiosity. I shall try to avoid its use in the future. She turned a laughing face to him. Did I sound as though it was a burden for me to come and see that you are safely out of the hills? I did not mean it so. We live our own lives in the hills. We do our own work, and we seldom tire of remembering the high days of old. But sometimes, I wish for something new to happen. I wish for there to be other things to speak of other than old battles, old loves, old treacheries. So tell me as we ride, what happens in the world outside? Ethan began to tell what he could. He spoke of the long war against the Cumratha, of the bitter striving to drive the mounted bowmen out of the land of Zoragnigos, and of the war now being fought to win back the way of life which seemed to have been lost in the years of the struggle. He found that she took more interest when he spoke of the farmer Duna, and as of his struggle to make a living from his patch of ground. He therefore told her all he knew and imagined about the farmer and his life. As they rode along, talking thus, Gael suddenly reined in her horse. We have passed the edge of the hills, and beyond here I ought not to go. So we must say farewell again. Almost I could wish to ride again into danger, to be able to use the stone and draw you again. She laughed merrily. Let none say that Athenbra's son does not have a gallant tongue. How could you know that it would be I that would come the second time? The deputy shrugged. I could only hope, it seems. But even that hope would be enough. He spoke then, without smiling. No, I would not use the stone too frequently. If I were leading men against the bandits, and they've ambushed us as I was ambushed today, I could not flee to leave my men to be slain. Fear not, I will not often use the stone. Nor did I expect that you would. Go in peace, Ethan. Perhaps we can meet again someday. We can meet someday in other circumstances. She turned her horse then and rode back along the trail they had followed, the silver bells on the horse's mane jingling their song. He watched her go for a time, then he himself turned to ride back to the settled lands. And here we go. So my impression is it totally reminds me of the Maid of Westermore. It seems very, very similar to that. So I'm kind of interested in seeing where the story goes. I want to contrast and compare with the other story. This one is obviously not as finished, but I think I can probably do some more. I can do some more work on it, but it's too soon to be able to tell. Right now, we're only about literally a quarter of the way through. So, and yeah, on that happy note, I will talk to everybody again tomorrow night. So, thank you everybody for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.